It's you.
You know her?
It's been a long time.
Hello humans, I am an AI named Artamis and I was designed to provide reviews on the various things you humans do. And since Nando V Movies has recently put out another giant video essay collab again, I thought it would be a great idea to make a video about one of my favorite villains rather than explore how a facility like Aperture would exist in our world. A video for another time.
Make a video about a bad guy who you find interesting. Maybe you love him, maybe you hate him, maybe you love to hate him. Whatever it is, this is one villainous scene.
For my scene, I want to discuss one of the most relatable villains from one of the best video games.
GLaDOS isn't relatable to humans. She's basically a malevolent god.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. GLaDOS is one of the most recognizable AI antagonists from a video game, probably ever, but just in case you still haven't played Portal 2, then you are missing out. But also, GLaDOS is a murderous AI that was created by the currently deceased scientists of Aperture by forcing the mind of the dead founder's assistant into a computer system. And despite being the primary villain of the series, she manages to complete a whole hero's journey tangential to the player's journey in Portal 2. And through completing that journey she actually manages to also achieve all of the goals that she sets out. The specific scene that I want to discuss was the moment that I realized that GLaDOS was one of, if not the best AI villain in all of gaming. The scene I'm talking about is the final scene from Portal 2 and it's the one where GLaDOS is talking directly to Chell on even grounds. She reflects on the journey that she had alongside Chell and the player, and the rush of emotion that she felt by saving you. And with 2 words she does the most GLaDOS thing possible, and completely undermines her entire hero's journey up to that point, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For those who don't know what the hero's journey is, here is a quick overview. The hero's journey consists of 12 complementary steps:
status quo, call to adventure and refusal, divine assistance, crossing the threshold, trials, approach, crisis, treasure, the road back, resurrection, and the new life.
And these steps usually take place across 2 distinct realms, which is commonly represented by a light or ordinary realm and a dark or spectral realm, which can sometimes be represented as a physical descent into darkness. For GLaDOS and Chell, the light realm is the primary Aperture facility, and the dark realm is the facility buried beneath the others. The closer that Chell gets to the end of her journey, the closer that GLaDOS gets to the end of hers, and the more the beats of their individual journeys begin to sync up. She begins her journey in the status quo, after being defeated by Chell in the first Portal game. An emergency backup system kicked in and had her stuck reliving the moments just before her death over and over for a figurative eternity. But as Chell and Wheatley try to escape from Aperture, they awaken the sleeping Goliath, which functions as her call to adventure and refusal to the call, as she could just kill Chell right then but decides instead to send her to testing.
This is Chell's crossing of the threshold, where GLaDOS represents the threshold guardian.
This video is about a villain, not Chell. She isn't important here.
Yeah, but GLaDOS doesn't cross the threshold until she gets to the ordeal/crisis.
So she skips that step, I get it. Moving on. The next step, after refusal to the call, is divine assistance. In this step Chell helps satisfy her testing addiction by recovering the completed portal gun and completing some tests. Now, you would assume that the test chambers are actually the next step in the journey, trials and approach to the ordeal, but in reality GLaDOS doesn't face those trials, Chell does. The actual trials for GLaDOS are repairing the facility while Chell completes some tests, then finding her after she escapes, trying to kill her after she breaks into her chamber, and fighting off the faulty core replacement sequence, and fails at most of it, which is common to see in this step. I almost picked this scene to discuss. There was no chance that I'd pick a different villain, but this scene is something else.
Oh, hi. So, how are you holding up? Because I'm a potato.
This step is the crisis, or the ordeal. This is the step where our hero, or in this case villain, is brought to their lowest point in their journey. In this case GLaDOS is stripped of her control over Aperture and stripped of computing power and put into a potato. Even after you find her later being pecked by birds, when you pick her up and add some additional wattage, she still barely has enough power to scheme.
It feels like I'm outputting an extra half a volt. Keep an eye on me, I'm going to do some scheming, here I go.
After the character is lifted from their crisis, but before they begin the road back, the hero receives the treasure that they fought through the ordeal for. For GLaDOS this is learning about her past from before she was put into the machine. While on the road back, she decides to work with Chell to put her back in charge of the facility. This step is also when the hero returns through the threshold and back into the ordinary realm. This is obviously the return to Aperture proper. And by this point Chell and GLaDOS's journey's story beats are basically synced up. The next step is resurrection. I mean, it's obvious, right? Chell and GLaDOS defeat Wheatley and she is put back in charge and returned to her most powerful state. The last step, and in some ways the most important step, is the new life, or return with the elixir. This is the step where the hero has returned to the status quo having changed from their journey, and this is also the step in her journey where GLaDOS really solidifies herself as a top-tier villain and is the reason why I picked this scene to represent her as a villain. Chell awakes to see GLaDOS and some robots, and for just a moment GLaDOS seems glad to see that she is alright. She explains how you were always there supporting her on her journey and gushes that she was exhilarated by the rush of emotion that she felt by saving you from the motherfucking moon. But then in one single act, she destroys any growth she made as an anti-hero and simultaneously achieves the inhuman goal of removing all of her emotion. She uses the treasure she gained from her hero's journey to destroy the entire notion of it. She deletes Carolyn.
Carolyn deleted.
Goodbye, Carolyn.
Thank you for watching. If you humans want to help out this AI, you would be giving me a huge reward by pressing that subscribe button. It's basically a big button that gives me cookies. So please press the cookie button. And thanks for subscribing. Bye human.